Oh, oh, hello, my sweet. So won't you come with me? There's oh so much to show in this grimdark distillery. So if you like bullshit or want some hobby tips, this nightmare priest nigh unbind world magnificent welcomes you. Hello, my sweets. Good morning, Mowgli. And good morning, Grief. Good morning, Eli. Good morning. So I think we are going to be working on painting today because I am really trying to get this stuff done so we can start doing the actual the play videos of it. So I'm really trying to push through this. So yeah, I think I'm going to do that today as opposed to Grief, just because I'm really trying to get it all done and I really need to finish something. However, I'm feeling very good about it. I got a lot done yesterday. So, just to show what I've gotten done, yesterday, I don't think that this was painted already yesterday when I showed it, but I went ahead and I made my base, which is this. So if you're wondering, hey, what's up with all these empty spots right here? Well, it's a bit of a happy accident and also a bit of quality control as quick as I can. So when you work with baking soda for texturizing, when you glue it, you have to make sure that it's fully dried. And sometimes you don't want to let it fully dry. You want it to do what it's doing here. So by letting, essentially, I take the mix of, where is it? It's the I don't know where my cup of went. There it is. So yeah, taking a cup of aka watered down PVA glue, which looks really gross and smells like what it looks like. It's awful. It smells terrible. Anywho, so you baste the whatever you're working on down with that, and then you take hermit crab sand or calcium bicarbonate, what have you. Which essentially the reason I use that is because it is the finest granule outside of baking soda that retains its shape once it gets wet. Let me move that so you can see my face. If we use just baking soda, everything kind of turns into like a blend. And I do still want defined granules to where you can kind of rely on them to stay raised and whatnot. But then I go in with baking soda. And in the places where the PVA glue mix has settled more, or there is more, that typically will be the spots. So by letting pools naturally form while we're doing this with the glue as they do, the spots that baking soda is hit on, that builds up more and more and more as I'm sprinkling it on there, those spots will not dry completely. So afterwards, we come in once it's dried. Kyle on the Cloud, did you already finish the skeleton tree thingy? No. So Grief is still going, and I do absolutely want to work on that. I just really need to make some progress on this terrain so we can start doing what I really want to do with this channel. Yeah, Grief. Let's see. His face, we got some good work done on the face yesterday. It's very upsetting looking. And the next step on that will definitely be adding the skin to the face. Oh damn, that looks sick. Thank you. Welcome, Kyle. Yeah, I'm really happy with how the face turned out. It's really going well. But I really want to try and finish something. And the closest thing that I have to finishing is, man, I got this camera all out of whack. There we go. Yeah. Okay. So the whole goal of the Grimdark Distillery is to present games that I love and I think are worth people's time. And in order to do that, I need to make sure that I have quality game board, quality models. Yeah, do your thing. Sweet. Chill. But yeah, that's the whole goal. Is I want to show people how I do what I do. So from like the very beginning to the end product, and then how to play the games and then make the stories that we all talk about in the 28 community. So yeah, essentially those spots where baking soda builds up, it will not dry completely, which means that it will then start to flake. And I learned that while working on the mud board, which is a 4x4 board that I took with me to Visterion, that I based it off of Passchendaele, which is one of the most horrific things in history. Specifically, the third battle of Ypres. If you've ever heard me rant about World War One, that is the number one top of the list. If you're like, hey, you have to go back, we're going to send you back in time. You get to pick 3 places you don't want to be. The first one, without a doubt in my mind, is the Third Battle of Ypres. It is the single most horrifying thing I've ever heard of. After that, it's probably Verdun. And then number 3 is somewhere outside of Hiroshima or Nagasaki. Not enough that I am fucked up, but enough that I get to see everyone who was not killed instantly, but I get to deal with all of that. Those are the 3 most truly horrifying things I've ever read about. Definitely disturbed me very, very, very much. In that order. Can't stress that enough. They are 3 of the most horrific moments in our history as a species. So Ypres essentially was flooded. It had a 100-year flood. Slow radiation deaths. Oh yeah, the recovery of people, like if you were in the water on boats, that's the kind of stuff. Not just the slow radiation deaths. It's the exposure to the severe heat and radiation. But the accounts of, if you're ever like, man, I want to get jaded or desensitized, look up accounts of people helping survivors out of the water from boats. It is some of the most horrifying stuff you will ever read. It's awful. Essentially, just lots of accounts of helping people out of the water, and then their faces just falling off while you're trying to pull them into the boat, or their hands coming off with you. It's just absolutely just horrifying, and it absolutely will help understand where the concept of Godzilla came from, which is why that definitely sank into, man, I need to look more into that. Godzilla's scales are shaped like keloid scars, which is a radiation burns. I didn't show. So the board, essentially, once that has dried enough, but not fully, I then run my hand around it to make sure anything that is loose will come up. And if you don't do that, you'll find out while you're playing, which is not fun at all. So one, it's preemptive to make sure that the places that I want to stay looking right, look right. But also, it's now I'm using it. Initially, it was a happy accident. It wasn't a happy accident at all. It was oh man, I fucked up. Now I'm turning that into a happy accident and kind of integrating it, because those spots are now going to look like puddles once I have finished, because they have a different texture underneath than the rest, but it's also organic. I did not choose the spots, which is how you really achieve realism, is by trying to get things to work with you in a way that it looks natural and unplanned. And it's very hard to figure out stuff like that. So anytime I figure out, oh, hey, that's a way I could use that, that's a wonderful tool. And after that, I pretty much spent yesterday working on wood, which these are the roofs for the buildings. I went through and I painted them. There is a piece where you can see, yep, that is before, with all the stains that we did on the concrete. Possum! Welcome, possum. Good morning, my sweets. Yeah, I'm really, really happy with how they've turned out. They are going to get this one especially. You can really tell the difference in the colors. Let me see. Yeah, right there. That's good. I don't want to block the shot of my face. But what I did is essentially I went in with a couple of different browns. Essentially the only ones that I did were already not needing to be primed. So all the ones that I'm doing this morning, I had to gloss because they were still covered in oils. Like before, these were covered in oils. So if I had tried to paint on them, the paint would not stick. It would not do what it needs to do. So I had to blast everything with gloss varnish, and I used gloss varnish because I am trying to make sure I do as many steps in order as possible. So I have to do them over and over again less. But by spraying them with a gloss varnish, I kill two birds with one stone in that now I can paint the wood. So here's an example of one that I've started on this morning already. Yeah. So that is an example of what I started on this morning. And I've got a good amount done already. But I'm just going in and all of the wood on the castle and whatnot. Yep, that's wood. Got wood, all right. All of the wood, I'm going in and I'm painting them. And the colors that I'm using are essentially, I'm starting with a raw umber, Liquitex Basics Acrylics. And then I pretty much take burnt umber. And instead of, so everything gets a coat in raw umber. And then I go in and I highlight with burnt umber. And I say highlight because I'm not really highlighting. It's almost like, not so much highlighting, but speckling. I'm wanting to create unusual variations in the tone of the wood color. So then once I've got that done, then I go in with, I'm pretty sure I use dark chocolate as well. Let me double check this. Yep, that's paint. I'm pretty sure I used dark chocolate as well. I did three. I did three different colors. So yeah, that's the darker, the brighter reds that you see. So we've got underneath of there, our darkest dark is the raw umber, and then we have a slightly lighter brown, which is the burnt umber, and then dark chocolate is the reddish tones that you see in there. Contour, yes, essentially just contouring, defining the shape of the wood. Because when you look at wood, much like the castle, it's the same concept that we did with the stone of the castle. We want to make sure there's enough natural variation that it does not look like we did this. We want it to look like nature did this. And I don't have a trick so much like I do for the, well, I guess I do. I could have done the same thing, but that would have been a lot more wasteful. And that's what, when I say the same thing, essentially what I did with that board is the same concept as chipping. Like true chipping, not false chipping, which would be where you intentionally make spots on the model where you know you're going to have paint chipped away. True chipping, you typically apply glue with some sand, and then you'll put the paint over it, and then you'll come back in with a wet brush, and you kind of wipe away the sand that was not stuck all the way, which naturally creates a chipped exterior. I did the same kind of concept, but in a different order for the board to create natural puddles. But then once that's done, everything gets covered in, of course, everyone's favorite folk art paint, Graveyard Earth. It's not actually Graveyard Earth. I don't know what it's actually the color, but it didn't have a label on it when I bought it on clearance, but it's Graveyard Earth. As close to like OG Graveyard Earth as I've seen. And that is what the predominant thing is over top. And that I essentially dry brush. And by doing that, I wet dry brush. It's not, I don't use a dry brush. There's still paint loaded in there, enough paint to where there are natural spots where it accumulates more. And then that's done. And the next step is to, of course, seal it again with another gloss. And we want to use gloss because gloss on a microcellular like level is very flat and very sealed, whereas matte is very concave. So the gloss will help the oils that I'm going to wash this in, very similar to what we did here, spread and distribute evenly and not pool as much, because we don't want it to pool unless it's in an actual recess. That way it creates natural shadows and whatnot. But essentially that's going to leave us with the very real looking, like kind of look that we've got on our stone, but on our wood. And then on here, I'm just doing the same thing. So I've glossed this whole thing, which is for the final step. But then I'm painting over these. When I go back, I'm just going to hit just this side with gloss because I don't need to do this one again. So I'm trying to, save time, cut all those things out. But then we weather, and we need to make sure that we gloss it once it's finally done, after the oils and all that biz, before we do weathering, because weather typically is enamel, and it'll eat through everything as well. So trying to make sure that we keep everything in order, and I definitely could have done that better myself by trying to do the wood all at once, but I really didn't want to risk messing it up. So that is why we kind of did the concrete, made it look the way I want it to, and then we're going back. I know how I work, and I know how frustrating it will be for me. My chair is pulled apart right here, and it caught my arm. Oh my goodness. That felt awful. It did it again. Stop that. Sorry, I don't mean to yell in your mouth. Not in your mouth or I don't mean to yell in your mouth or your ears. In the event that you had your headphones or your speakers in your mouth. I don't mean to yell in your mouth. Or do I? But yeah, so that is the plan. Also, I'll show you the gate because the gate looks fucking rad. And all the doors. Yeah, so, man, these are fun. I'm really having a fun time with these. So, this is the main gate. Tape it. Don't cut yourself. That's a good idea. You can yell in my mouth, BD. You can yell in my mouth. Save it for later. So this is the main gate that fits inside of this guy. So once this is all painted, I will fully assemble it, but there are little pegs in there that hold that in place. That way the door functions and is able to open. And so far I've just done the wood. Why are they all opening their mouths? They want me to yell in it. What? Yeah, it doesn't make sense. It's just that they like that. They like that. Let them do their thing. Don't shame them. This is a very shame-free zone here. There will be no shaming. I'm not going to yell in your mouths, but there will be no shame about that if you like that. Yeah, I'm really happy with how they look so far. Very dirty, old wood. And when we put the ink wash on there, the oil, I use that interchangeably, sorry. When we put the oil wash on there, it is really going to it's really going to pop. It's going to a very similar kind of situation as this, where it will just start to look so real. But before we do that, there are certain spots that have to get touched with either 6-shooter or black ice, which are probably my two favorite paints from Turbo Dork. Let me find them. There's 6-shooter. I have no idea where black ice is, but I can't stress enough when Greg from Turbo Dork, there it is. So Greg from Turbo Dork, who absolutely, I love, they're my favorite paint company. If you're like, hey, I need to buy some metallic paints, outside of Turbo Dork, the only kind of metallic paint that I look at is the kind that 99% of people don't need or want to fuck with. And I mean that from how much work it takes versus the difference in what you're going for. The only thing that I have found that I think is worth putting forth the effort in more than just going with Turbo Dork is like acrylic, which would be like your true metals, like the kind that you open this and you're like, yep, I have to make sure you can't work with this shit without a respirator on, like period. It will straight up kill you. Like don't breathe this stuff in. I don't even know where it is at this point. I gotta find it. So like Alcad is a very prime example of that. They're like almost a shellac, but it's I don't even know where they are. I use them very, very rarely. Turbo Dork is my favorite metallics because of the ease of use. But number one, oh hey, they're up here. So yeah, the only thing, if I'm not using Turbo Dork for metals, it's because I'm using acrylics or lacquers. Yeah, not even acrylics, they are lacquers. And again, like the health risks, if I didn't have a spray booth in my house that I knew for certain could get the fumes out, I wouldn't even own these, because if you do not have a place to use them, don't. And I say that from I care about you. Don't kill yourself trying to paint stuff. And like same thing with your family. Like I'm very paranoid. That's the whole reason my resin printers are in my spray booth, and the whole reason that I have the spray booth is I don't want my passion or my hobbies to impact the health of my loved ones. So my little fluffy babies, my wife, myself, I'm on the bottom of that list. I gotta tell you though, like if I messed up, it's okay because I at least did that and I had to say. But like it's real messed up. It'd be real messed up if I was trying to use this stuff and they had to suffer the consequences for it. Just because, I'm trying to see if this says anything about, danger, highly flammable liquid and vapor. Keep away from open flames. Ensure adequate ventilation. Irritant, in case of eye contact, rinse with water. If you get this in your eyes, you're fucked. I don't care what they say on this. Keep out of the reach of children. Long-term exposure may be harmful. This product contains chemicals known in the state of California to cause cancer. It will cause cancer anywhere. Contains alcohol, ketone, ester, and aromatic solvents. Yeah, so essentially, and the only reason I'm showing these is these are going to be used for things like Gundam. That's about it as far as me. A display piece that I absolutely was obsessed with making it look as real as possible. There is nothing that looks realer than Alcad 2 lacquers. In my opinion, fight me if anyone sees this and they're really passionate about mercury. Yeah, like it's just straight up like it's just nuts. If the warning label is 90% of the bottle, that's how you know the product is good. Yeah, like it is the shit when it comes to making something look like real metal, and it's not. I haven't seen anything else as close. And to prove like how insane, you can then buff it. Like that's the reason that people really like lacquers in like the scale model community and the gunpla community is because it's like damn near real metal at that point. Once you've sprayed that on there, it's almost like you have powder coated on a very small level, but you're chemically powder coating instead of using heat. You're bonding literal micro pieces of metal to the plastic, and then you can go in and you can sand it, you can buff it, you can gloss it up, and like the chrome, I have chrome, and that is the only thing that I had to think about. I was like, at some point in time I might start using this. Great for the lungs. Oh yeah, if I'm in there, I have a respirator on, I have 2 exhaust fans that are hooked up that send fumes straight out of the old pipe from my chimney. So essentially when we had our furnace replaced, I now have one that does not use that old pipe that goes up out of the house. So there's just an empty pipe in my basement that leads out of my house. And I said, well, I could use that. I could use that pretty well. And then I don't have to put another hole in my house after I moved my shop over here. It used to be over there, and I put a 4-inch hole in the house to have my exhaust fan, which sucks. Can't stress that enough. Doesn't suck as much as doing it on a ladder, which I had to do for the bathroom when I remodeled the bathroom. But it still sucked. It sucks having to cut that much through brick. So yeah, it saved me a hole. But yeah, that stuff, it can be polished. And the chrome, the reason that the chrome is really insane, thank you. The reason that the chrome is really insane is because you can actually create mirrored effects with it. You can get it so polished that it will become like a mirror. And I don't know, I think it was a hair. I think a fuzzy fell off my leg and I saw it out of the corner of my eyes. Essentially, I want to make sure I get this in frame for where I'm at naturally, not where I'm holding it up. I think that's good. Ooh, can some of the other ones mirror? So that is the only one that I know can is the chrome, and that's why I picked it up. And there is I cannot stress enough, it is not something that you're like, oh, I want to do this on like a lot of stuff, because I'm a fan of stuff that takes time to look good. It is an obscene amount of time. I've not done anything to make a mirrored one, but I know where to find the information for when that time comes, because there's quite a few different like people out there that have experienced and experimented with these a lot more than I have. I've been looking for a goldish mirror paint. So yeah, as far as that, I don't know. In order to get a mirror effect, you have to have something that can be polished to an insane extent. And then it also, so it has out the gate, it absolutely has to be like a true metal. So yeah, I'd have to think about that. I don't, other than making it mirrored and then putting like almost a gold like film or tint over it, that would be the only way I would think to be able to do a true mirror, like paint wise. But that's just, I've never, and again, I deal with really small stuff, so I'm sure there's other products out there that can do that, but for this scale, there's nothing else that I've encountered that can do that. As far as colored metallics though, for ease of use, there's no one that competes with TurboDork in my opinion. They have put their heart and souls into making paint that covers something that no one else does. And that is the amount of colored metallics that look rad as hell, and are all, water-based acrylics. It's just, I love TurboDork. They're my favorite paint company. They were the first, I don't know, it's hard to say. Either the first sponsor or affiliate that I had outside of Bure Games. One of those two came first. I don't know which one technically. I think it might have been TurboDork. I think TurboDork was the first ones to ride with me. And those two paints there, I already had a bottle of Black Ice. But when I told Greg what I was wanting to do, and I said, anything that you would like or you think would be good for that, I trust your opinion. Anything you would like to send me, I'm just very grateful. And one of those was 6-shooter that he sent me. And that is my favorite paint from TurboDork. It is, so Black Ice and 6-shooter, the reason I got those out, they are a black metal. And Black Ice is a little bit darker. So yeah, Black Ice, black metallic. 6-shooter, dark gray, silver metallic. So 6-shooter, it looks like what it's supposed to look like. It looks like a gun. It looks like gun if gun is not painted metal or painted black. Like if it's not a black gun, you're wanting like a blued looking rifle or a pistol, like, that looks really good. 6-shooter is absolutely, it's my favorite. The only thing that has come close to that was thrash metal from Scale 75, and I don't fuck with them anymore. So if I'm not mistaken, they've done some questionable things that I don't support remotely. And another part of why I love TurboDork is, one, I talk to them. It's I really am about trying to stand with products that I believe in, with people who have intentions that align with mine. And that is how that whole discussion kind of went, was explaining what I'm wanting to do, after finding out, that their product is a work of love. Um, let's see. Before pausing for like Taikonaut helmet, I guess. Taikonaut helmet glass. Oh yeah, or BattleTech cockpits. Yes, so that would look sick as hell, for a very like a reflective gold. And there's a lot of really like I think Isaac's Navigators, though the gold that he uses is either an Alcad or it might even be gold leaf. I would have to look or talk to him, but the gold that he uses is very real gold. Um, and I can't stress enough, I have spent a lot of money looking for different paints. It's not like, oh, I'm just picking and choosing based on what. Like, no, I've got so many different types of gold, so many different types of silver, so many different kinds of paint. So I try to be very intentional with what I use. And yeah, that there are very few things that I use that, like, unless I don't have an option, and in which case I try to figure it out on my own. But I really don't like to support companies that don't give a shit about people. I'm talking about you, Vallejo. Vallejo, lots of others, lots of other big companies, the kinds that have like sweatshops but for paint. I was thinking Gold Leaf as well. Yeah, like that is a whole nother beast altogether. And I've never messed with Gold Leaf, but I've done damn near everything else. Get that brown off there real quick. But yeah, Gold Leaf is a whole different process, and I know Helge Wilhelm Dahl. I know one of the first pieces that he like made, that he sculpted, it was based on a Forge World Great Unclean One kind of pose, but it had two heads, and I absolutely love that model. It's got two faces, very Janus inspired. He used gold leaf on it, and that's, yeah. Isaac used a form of metallic leaf to get the gold domes. Okay, there you go. So yeah, yeah, and that, Adam, have you ever worked in gold leaf? I've never used it personally. I have only watched or seen, the little step by step that Wilhelm posted. I don't know how to pronounce his first name. So I always just say Wilhelm, which is also what most people know him as Wilhelm Miniatures. But again, wonderful member of the community. Truly always inspiring stuff. And his heart is fully in it. Like, that's, yeah, I don't know. Again, typically if you see someone in the 28 community, it's they're doing it because they love it, not for other reasons. And that's so important to me. I just, after, working in corporate America, already I was aware of like how absurd shit is with pandering and whatnot, and there were just few things that disgust me as much as pandering. But knowing how to use the tools of the enemy is helpful, so you can help other people not fall victim to that. Because I've seen it enough in other places. I'm not fucking having it in my community, not in my house. So anytime I recommend something, I try to make sure that it is someone that I truly recommend. I heard that gold leaf sucks and do not use it, but it looks so pretty. I've never actually tried it. I haven't either. So just the little bit that I saw on a old article that Wilhelm posted, it absolutely looks like it is one of the most frustrating mediums to ever use, and that it's just very prone to doing what the hell it wants, and you just have to work with that. Now, outside of our hobby, I know a lot of people who use it in stuff that like my wife does with watercolors and just regular painting. And she's not ever used gold leaf, but a lot of people that she enjoys their work do occasionally, especially the main. There was one painter that she's a very big fan of. She actually makes products now, and they're very similar to. We were talking about that. Isaac also mentioned that over time they can sort of flake off, and that is the other thing that I was thinking is I don't even know. Put it on something that needs to flake, and see. So that's why I think it looks really good on the one piece in particular, because it looks tarnished and it looks like part of the gold has fallen off, and you get to see underneath, and it's very good. And if I remember correctly, I think that was a happy accident that he just started to roll with because of just how difficult getting everything to stay where he wanted was. Uh, and then I think that kind of defined the overall tone of the model. Yeah, I think it was that interview with Isaac that it was mentioned he didn't recommend doing it. Yeah, that I I think there's definitely a time and place. I think if you touch the thing, so any kind of model, anything that's going to be like moved around and get a lot of just being touched. We have oils on our skin. We have so many things that will contribute to breaking down the the materials that we put on these little toys or little pieces. So trying to keep that in mind and knowing how to prevent that from happening. That's kind of how I got with the puddle approach, the Visterian board. After watching some of it come up at the event and then more of it happening on the way back, and then just over time just playing with that board, I was like, man, okay, I need to keep that in mind for the next time I need to make a board. I need to remember to make sure I double check all that and seal everything before. And with gold leaf, I don't think you can seal it and it actually do the thing that you're wanting it to do still. I think once you seal it, it essentially is going to lose a lot of that luster, no matter what you seal it with. And there are so many things that are like that. Good morning, Shankly. Welcome, welcome. Doing a little bit of painting today. A lot of bit of painting today. I've been painting a lot. Other than yesterday working on grief, I've just been nothing but painting. Whew boy. But I'm really excited it's going. I've just been trying to get this stuff done so I can start making actual like footage, game footage of us playing 1490 Doom. And all of the terrain that I'm building is specifically for the campaign. It's everything that we need to run the Fall of Rothenburg. And once that's done, once this is done, I should have a very pretty set to play Fall of Rothenburg or just any scenario of 1490 Doom, which is why I absolutely love my board. There's only so much I can do with the one that I made because I did not make it with the game in mind. I made it with, oh man, a castle. Okay, I want to build a castle. That sounds really fun. And then I asked Cody, hey, if I was going to build a board, what would you recommend? But I did not take actual gameplay as far as scenarios and stuff like that into mind. And with that said, with a fixed board, there's only so much you can really do with that. Like, there's going to be stuff that it's not going to work because the terrain is set in place. And if scenarios are truly varied enough, then that's automatically not going to work. But I stand firm that nothing looks as good as a fixed board when it's done, because it should, if the goal is to create a set environment, a set piece to play on, then you can fully blend that into the ground, into the dirt. Everything looks like it is fully made to be there, as opposed to some small parts where it looks like it's raised or it's sitting. You can just have a lot more realism and contouring by knowing that you can't move certain pieces. And you can definitely get around that by doing different things. I'm trying to do that here by making sure that the ground and the buildings have a natural contouring to them. I'm going to use contouring again. That's going to be the word of the day. Today, it's brought to you by the word contour. And condors. Condors are fucking cool. It's also brought to you by condors. Just big birds, man. Big birds are scary as shit. I was on a boat one time. Man, that was a really hard topic change. I'm sorry about that. But I am going to talk about it. One time I was fishing at a friend's place, and it is one of the few places in Kentucky that bald eagles nest. And if you don't know that, and you don't know that there's a possibility that a bird with like a 6+ foot long wingspan lives in the area, and that you might see it, contour sounds like a villain. Contour does sound like a villain. Contour. Man, would he just be really into, or would they just be really into like contouring everything, even people? Just contour the whole world. But yeah, if you don't know that there's a bird, a giant bird, and that thing flies like 3 feet over your head while you're in like a little boat fishing, it will scare the shit out of you. And then like, even the person that knows, they're like, oh my God. And they're just like, oh yeah, that's bald eagle. They live here. I'm just like, what the fuck? Big birds are scary, man. You want to fuck around with big birds. And that's how we get Margot down here. We talk about Big Bird enough. She's going to be like, y'all talking about Big Bird? Yeah. Oh shit, pterodactyl. Yeah, like I can't stress enough. Like that's not really a guy that's afraid of birds, but fuck, that's a scary bird. Like, and knowing that it's just like, man, if that thing attacked me, I'm fucked. Like, I'm just on a little boat. Like, the best chance is I'm going to fall in the lake, and there are so many scary things in that lake. I don't swim in lakes. I think that's probably because at a very young age, I discovered that we have one of the most, like, I think we have the only, like, pit viper, or we have the most poisonous pit viper in the U.S. at least. I don't know how many other pit vipers there are, but water moccasins are all over this place. And like, it was a very young age that I learned, like, oh yeah, don't fuck with that. It will straight up kill you. So that, and then alligator snapping turtles, which are very prevalent, are also very, very scary. And I guess you've got two different modes of handling that. I try to avoid them, and then a lot of other people are like, we got to get in there, we got to go noodling, which is one of the craziest things I've ever heard of. And luckily, my great uncle, who I've learned so many things from, luckily he was able to explain. He's like, oh yeah, there's nothing like the thrill. Alligator gar here, ooh, alligator gar are intense. I know that they're not too ferocious though. Now, turtles, they're not, I guess, they just do what they do. But if you get close to their mouth, they'll take whatever you have close to their mouth. They'll just take it from you, and you don't have that anymore. They're not like a great white where you can like, give me that back. Like, it's just, nope, it's gone. You're not getting that mouth back open. But yeah, he used to go noodling. And he was like, yeah, there's nothing like the thrill of getting down in there and finding a hole and not knowing what's in there and reaching in. And that is honestly probably where, the desire to make a game that felt like that, for Wretched, where that came from, was hearing that, because that is, I can't relate to that, but I was like, man, what if I could make a game that emulates that? Like, just turns up the fear level to a level that you wouldn't expect in a tabletop game, in that environment. But you want to reach in the hole. Basic brush. Animals like that are glad I don't live in U.S. roads, to be honest. Yeah, there are so many scary animals out there in the world, but the ones that like you don't think about often that just like live in the U.S., it's just like, also, welcome, Basic Brush. Wonderful to have you here. The amount of things that are just like, yeah, that thing can, if you don't think about what you're doing, you can have your life irreversibly changed. Where you at, Basic? Yeah, now talk about things that like, oh shit, that's scary, and they grew up with. I worked with a guy named Ramson, who was born, I'm not going to be able to guess, but he's Pacific Islander. So one of the islands in the Pacific, and him telling me about what his life was like is just like talking to almost an alien, because it's just like I can't relate to that on any level whatsoever. Like he was just like, yeah, man, it's crazy. Like, we go out and it's just a lot of fishing. We use a lot of stuff from the ocean. And he's just like, but the thing is, like, you really got to watch out for tigers. And I was like, tigers? He's like, yeah, tiger sharks. He's like, they are the scariest thing that you will ever see where I am from. And he was just like, the amount of times in my life, like as a kid, and before we moved here, he was like, I would be out and it's like, man, this huge sunfish. He was like, this one time there was a sunfish, which are huge fish. Like they have these real weird shapes. Very triangular and then round in the front. Very weird fish. But he was like, there was this huge sunfish, and he was like, oh my gosh. He was like, I was spearfishing, and I got this sunfish, and I was so excited because I was like, man, this is going to feed so many people. And he was like, and then I look, and there's just a tiger shark like over here, and he was just like, and I had to decide. He was like, I could try to get away, but I'm gonna die, or I could just give it to him. So he was like, so I just gave it to him, and I left, and he took the fish. And it's just like, that is a thing that I can't even begin to relate to. Like, knowing that's like, yep, there's an animal. I'm in his house. And he wants the food that I have. And even though we all really need that, if I even think for a second about trying to make it out, I'm dead. I'm just dead. No one's going to get the fish and I'm going to be dead. It's just, that's nuts. Yeah, the worst things that we have here, other than people, are pretty much... And everything has its place. Big cats scare me. They should. I cannot stress that enough. Big cats are very frightening. And I think the intelligence that they clearly have, and I really think that that's just, obviously I love cats, but cats are just so smart. They are able to do problem solving at a level that should scare people. If you really pay attention to how well they can think through things, and it's not like, oh, I taught them that. No, they just kind of know stuff. They're weird. Cats are weird, man. And the bigger a cat gets, it's just like, yep, they're still kitties, so they're still typically really smart. One of my absolute favorite things that I've seen that RedWetSkeleton did. Like, they were looking for the black maned lion in Africa, which got me so pumped. But there's a key point. Even Bobcats goes, oh yeah, like house cats. I can't stress enough. House cats can mess you up. I got mauled by a cat that was like neighborhood cat, and it fucked my hands up. Like, I could not do this for weeks because their claws, their teeth, they just, I mean, to the bone. It cut me to the bone in so many places, and it bit my hand to where it's just, oh boy, my boy Jojo calls it sharp. They will get you. They will get you. And then you can't really, like, that's the thing with like animal wounds. Like, you can't sew up an animal wound. So like, if you get hurt really bad, you just kind of, okay, you gotta figure out a different way to deal with that, because the bacteria in there, if they stitch it closed, like, can go really wrong. So that's probably where I just developed my love of butterfly bandages. And anytime my wife's like, oh yeah, that needs stitches, I'm like, let me see about some butterfly bandages here. But yeah, no, big cats, man. Big cats are scary. My buddy Alan, when he was in India, he does a lot. He doesn't so much these days. He's settled down, but he's been to India a couple different times. But he is the best photographer I know. And ironically, I didn't think about this, but he and my buddy Ryan, who Ryan was one of the film crew for season 2 of Tiger King, when they were in India, in the middle of the night, Alan woke up and like left a note to Ryan. He was just like, Ryan, gone to go take pictures at blank. I'll meet you in X amount of days at this town. and then just went out into the mountains that they were like, yeah, this is tiger zone. Like every year, people get killed by tigers here, and we know that tigers live on this mountain. Don't ever go off alone. He's just like, bye. Didn't get eaten by a tiger. Don't go back. Yeah, yeah. No, that's horror movie plot. Absolutely. Like when he told me this, it's just like, you're a psychopath, dude. Like, one, I mean, being alone on a mountain in a country that you don't live in. Two, it's a mountain. Like the amount of places that like the first time that he like saw a dead body was there, like, and not like, oh yeah, funeral, but like, yep, someone died and we can't get them. We cannot get their body. Uh, Storm Rooster, welcome, welcome. Hell yeah, no, yeah, it's gnarly. Which yeah, the first time that like he went, he was like, yeah, it was pretty fucked up. He was like, we had to go down this river, and there's parts in the river that it's just people don't, I think, understand how wildly different places in the world are. But there are parts in this river that they have to use that the current is so strong it creates eddies. And they were like, yeah, there is an eddy after this turn, and you have to, like your life depends on it, make sure you don't get anywhere near it or it will pull you in. Um, and that's essentially, yeah, they turn the corner and there's like just a corpse just in the water, like stuck in the eddy, and they made it through. They were like, oh shit. Second boat did not take the advice very well, so they were then pulled into the eddy and had a corpse thrashing up against their boat for however long it took them to get out, to get off the boat and like out of the water entirely. And I don't remember whatever happened to that. I just remember being like, man, that's fucked. He's like, yeah, it's fucked up. So an eddy is a small, almost like a pool. It's essentially like a little whirlpool that occurs naturally in a river or a high traffic creek. So where the flow goes this way, it's essentially almost a little spot that goes the opposite direction. And once that fills up, the constant current causes a circular motion. So it creates a pool. And if you get pulled in that, unless there's like people to help you, you will drown. Yeah, no, yeah, it's gnarly. Like the world is a gnarly, scary place. So be careful out there. Don't go near any eddies. Also, don't try to go by yourself on a mountain in India in the night. Also, like, I don't know. I love Alan. He is absolutely a man that just has no fear, never has, and I don't understand that. But he is the other trash boy that I grew up with in the creeks, catching snakes and looking at crawdads, whatnot, getting down to nature. No, I was trying to think. But yeah, he's hung out on a mountain alone in India, so far from people, and it's just like, yeah, there are tigers. Like factually, people saw tigers. People get killed by tigers where you are. Don't go out in the dark alone in a place you don't know. But yeah, the tigers aren't even like the again, the most dangerous stuff is literally just the terrain. The amount of, and I want to say it was Alexander Lund. I believe it was Lund. One of them has a very, very awesome Necromunda board. And I got really pumped when they made a specific addition to it that I only knew what it was because of my buddy Alan's pictures. But there are so many like bridges that they're not even, it's hard to say. It's like, yep, it's a bridge. It's a bridge, but that bridge is a rope. It's just like a couple ropes going across a canyon. And there are spots where like people tie, fabric to let you know it's safe to go. Unsafe rotted wood. Yeah, just Some of them don't even have wood. It's literally just like rope crossing a space, and then you have to like walk on it. And then there's like another rope over here that doesn't have any flags, and it looks like way scarier. But then the one that has like hundreds, if not thousands, of little pieces of ribbon hanging off of it, you know that that is a safe hiking route. But essentially, in this model, it takes place like in the sump, so the very bottom of a hive city. So just giant toxic river of just everything that runs down to the bottom has to move, and in a like nod of realism, like the whole thing looks great, but in a very like realistic nod, like he recreated that. So there is a bridge that has a bunch of like imperial seals tied off on it to show where it's safe to cross. And of course, there's a spot that's not safe, and it's just like it's stuff like that if you can bring real world scenarios to a board and to a piece, it really, I think, really will look real because it's got a reference. But applying that reference and thinking about how that could be used in a different world is such a big part of the skill of realism. It doesn't have to be painted like the most real thing in the world, but if it's got enough detail that makes you think, I can see clearly what that is, and it fills in the gaps almost in your mind, then that's where I think true realism comes in, at least my definition of it. And that was one of the ones that I thought, man, that is great. That would be something that I'm pretty sure that's, yeah, Rolsilver Lund. I'm never going to be able to spell that first word, but it starts with an H and an R and an O. Lund is L-U-D-M-E. L-U-N-D-E. Lund. And I'm sure if you look for that on Instagram, you'll find him. But yeah, gorgeous Necromunda terrain. And not just Necromunda, I mean gorgeous just Hive City terrain. It would work for many places. Also Outguard, it would work for that. So many spots. There's a really good section that he made that's a big gate with like working pistons and whatnot, so it looks very real. He had a really cool little video of like smoke and lights around it. That's another thing. More stuff like that to really help get the mind into imagination zone. The more I'm like, yes. Oh wow, yeah. It's there's some really impressive artists out there. I want to try to make sure I get as many of them noticed by anyone who does not know their work as possible. I'm going to move these little pieces of wall down here, and I'm going to grab some more pieces. I'm pretty much... Oh no! Stop it. Okay. Yeah, I'm not going to stack those. That's dumb. That's dumb on me. Don't do that. Don't do what I do. Don't do what I do. Also, don't do what I say sometimes. Sometimes I just tell jokes. I'll make sure that I specify those, though. Don't mess with strange cats that you don't know. You could get hurt real bad. Don't put your hand in holes that you don't know what's in them, unless you're just like really experienced with noodling. Also, I never finished where that was going. Are these for generic RPGs or a system in particular? So these are both. Looks like it would suit Dark Souls games quite well. So that is absolutely my inspiration was I want my 1490 Doom boards. The aesthetic that I'm going for all of my 1490 Doom stuff is heavily inspired by one of my favorite parts of any game, and that is the Undead Burg in Dark Souls 3. I absolutely love the design of that area, like right before you meet the Great Rotten Tree or the whatever the tree, after the demons take you, you kill the first like kind of boss. You end up in this settlement. I think it's just the undead settlement. Yeah, I think it's Undead Settlement. Undead Burg is I think first game. So the Undead Settlement, where Grey Rat tells you like, oh yeah, you know, you can find my wife. So you're going through a bunch of what just looks like a very dilapidated European like town, and I fell in love with that area and the design and the aesthetic the moment that I first went there. Um, and I can show pictures and references if you all want. I've got the all the different like concept art books. I love concept art. But FromSoft is my undisputedly favorite game company. Bloodborne's my favorite game. It literally changed. It was the first FromSoft game I played, not counting Armored Core because I didn't know. No, there you mean hate the big cleaver guys there. Oh yeah, yeah. And if there's the one over by the grandma in a cage. That if you climb in the cage on the back, it'll take you to go meet the Mound Makers, which are just wonderful. I love the FromSoft games. Undead Burg is way sicker. I'm trying to remember which one's Undead Burg. I'm trying to remember Undead Burg and Undead Settlement, which one the two. It's been a while since I played that. But after I played Bloodborne for the first time, it changed the way that I like to tell stories. It changed my outlook on storytelling entirely, and I think it made me a better storyteller for certain. So yeah, I absolutely love FromSoft. But these are, I want them to be used for 1490, but I really do want to have the kind of terrain like this terrain that could be used for multiple games. So I'm really trying to make sure that it's not just single purpose. But I can only factor that so much in. But there's so many great games that could use it. So I try to make sure that the dimensions don't get too wild or too wonky. The doors are a little small for my liking, and I don't know how I feel about that because they look good with a 28 millimeter guy next to them, but they don't look right for someone that's 40 millimeters. Firelink into both Undead Burg is peak. Man, so yeah, Firelink. What makes the terrain compatible with a certain game? So it really just depends on. You have to know the games that you're going to want to play and what kind of terrain you will need for them. With 1490, height is the single most important part, and that's essentially because the game almost always centers around moving up or moving down. So you want the components to be a certain height to accommodate that, and then scale. Other than that, scale. Most of the stuff that I try to make I try to make things that can be used in any kind of 28 millimeter gaming, where the standard human size is about 28, whereas other models might be 32, around that same area. But I need to find a measuring tape. It's in the box. So when I started making my like the Coffer's Keep, the first castle that I made that's actually all one, it's fixed and I can't do anything other than build onto it once it's done. I asked Cody what the most important aspects of 1490 terrain are to make a good board that would be good to play it on. And he said that the number one thing he would recommend was make sure that the first level is no taller than 3 inches, because 3 inches everyone can climb up without a ladder. And this is right about 3 inches. So either A, this is too tall, or B, it needs a ladder. And honestly, I'm kind of torn on how I think it should be done. Now, ways to go about fixing that, I could house rule it, or I could add a little layer down here to where essentially, models will have to stand on. But, and that's the other thing, is that this also has stairs. There's different components to connect to it. With the stairs, that means that you don't have to worry about people climbing up, because there would be a way to get up, or by having ladders. If you have a ladder, that's actually even way better for everybody, because then they can just get up. So But that would be 3 is average. 3 is average height. So that's about, yeah, I would say 3 inches. I would call that. The one that I made is like about the same height, or this is like at a 1/4 inch. I think really we would have to play some games on it and see where we want to go with it. But then the buildings, so all the buildings though, and this was part of the reason that I was like, yeah, that's good. Let me grab the roof. Here it is. So yeah, and you can kind of see that's down here. I've got the first coat on, but I haven't done any of the other stuff. So 3 inches, can't get up there, but over here it is 3 inches. So you would be able to climb on this roof without a ladder, which means that you then would be able to climb on top of the other parts of the roof. So that kind of stuff would really be the only limiter. And even then it all comes down to, oh, well, if it's 4 inches, you're like, hey, what if for this game, just because we don't have anything else, just talk about it with your opponent. But I tried to make sure that the terrain that I made would meet the aesthetic, which I want to be very, very grim, very Dark Souls 3 influenced, and then have the right look. And I love the 1490 Doom stuff. The terrain that they made is very good for being able to change and play whatever you need to with it, because it's all let me grab this little stack. With it being all connectable and push fitting, these are all 2-inch blocks. So with the boards that I'm probably going to make and take to events and stuff, I'm probably going to use their actual STLs, and I'm going to paint them similar kind of situation. I just broke the super glue on that guy by slapping my hand against it, but that's fine because this is another one that I fucked up. See this? If you're working on building a 1490 Doom castle based on the parts that they have, pro tip, not a pro tip, just a clear to everybody that pays attention. If you look here, there are 2 different ways that this will go. Make sure that you have it lined up so you don't just randomly have like a piece like this where the wall just kind of like because like when I was gluing them, I got way too comfortable with just being like, all right, just kind of going through the motions, and then like afterwards I was like, son of a bitch, I glued all these on wrong. Now I got to go back and fix it. So that one broke, but that's actually a happy accident. Happy accidents. But yeah, so all the terrain that I've been printing, all of this comes from 3D layered scenery on my mini factory, and they also have their own website. I'm a huge fan of their stuff, and the first bit that I messed around with is the Greendale city that I printed for Trench Crusade, which I printed the whole damn city. It's a lot. But I can't stress enough how hard I'm going to go into Trench Crusade when we get there. It is the game. It's like, it feels like it was made for me, and I'm just like, oh boy, I can't wait. I cannot wait, which is why I have to do other stuff first. I have to save myself, because once we go in that hole, I'm probably not coming out for a very, very, very long time, if ever. I'll pop out to do other things, but I mean, I gotta hold back. But I will absolutely say that, and I was talking to my wife about this, 1490 Doom is one of my favorite games because of how it plays. It plays like someone who loves games made a game. And I mean that full on at face value. It is the antithesis to what Warhammer 40K has become. The rules are just enough that you have what you need to play the game and have so much variation. And as far as balance, it's like, yeah, it's not balanced, but it is balanced, because everything has something that is so broken almost, but it can only use it once per game. But that creates these moments that really create stories. Um, and part of me is just, I feel like that's part of where like all the rules bloat and stuff like that might have started from initially with 40K, is trying to create something that in game could create a moment that you're like, man, I remember that. That was nuts. And the rules for a model or for a character might be at the jumping off point for that. And I think honestly, that's how I have interpreted it, at least. I think Andy Hoare, he does like the rules writing for Necromunda and for Titanicus and for all the shit that I talk about, Games Workshop. Not a single ounce of that is directed towards him or the other people that make the games. It's the spite that I have is towards the corporation aspect and the part that then takes his work and cuts it up and piecemeals it out to try and keep us all addicted. Because that's what it is. I'm just calling it like it is. I've worked in corporate America for 15 years. Once you learn to see the shit, you can't unsee the shit, and then you start to see it in other things. And yeah, it is what it is. So, the 1490, having like knowing the creators and talking with them on a very personal level, like doing the Grief Act. I pretty much at Adepticon after, I talked to Turbo Dork, I talked to Cody, and we had a very long conversation about what we want with our different endeavors. And he was just like, yeah, he was like, I love games. I love playing games. I want to make games that are good enough for the community that has made me feel okay to be who I am. And that's something I did not fully appreciate until I think the other day. But I absolutely love it because it does feel like it is a love letter of a game. It feels like it's trying to take everything that you would get out of tabletop gaming and putting it on a space that anybody could have. Whether or not you have the models, that's fine. You could probably find something in your house to use as the pieces, but you just need a 2-foot round area, 3 models of any type per person. That's 6 models that you have to make total, and then just some stuff to stack around for them to climb and fight over. And that's very simplistic, but also that means that the concept of how the game works and how to make it flow well got a lot of attention. And I think it very much shows. I really, really like the game. Every time I've played it, every time we've played, I'm always just like, man, this is so fun. I just want to keep playing. Like, as soon as I finish, I want to play again. And the rules are not so convoluted that that's not a possibility. Like, a game finishes in about an hour at max, but closer probably to 45 minutes with just 2 people, and that's with us not, one of them learning how to play each time. You are able to pick up the rules because the rules, there's no gotchas. Like, that's it. Everyone has like oh yeah, this is a bullshit move, but everyone has access to the same characters out the gate. Like, if you didn't take a knight, well, you could have. So don't be angry that they've got a knight, because you also could have taken a knight. Like, everyone can take. There's no, you don't buy into it like a faction, and then you're just putting hundreds of dollars into one thing to like it have devalued every time that a new thing comes out. And I appreciate that. The only other game that really the mechanics, I thought, holy shit, this is a great game. The first time I ever played it was Trench Crusade. Trench Crusade's the dice pool and just how movement and everything works and the activations. It seriously is it's a very, very satisfying game. Now with that, how dare you take a knight, you monster? I've got a knight, the pig knight. The knights are scary, but they're all the characters are really, none of them seem OP to me because they all have a very specific role, or not even a general role. They all have a specific role. They're all very well done for the ones that I have played with. Now, I've not touched on the Beekeeper or anything like that, and you could absolutely. Sounds like how I reacted to the first time I played Frostgrave 9 years ago. Yeah, so I've not played Frostgrave because when it came out, I was very much into Mordheim and other things like that. But I love skirmish gaming. But yeah, Frostgrave, I would say, is very much, I've heard it described like, it's like if you made Mordheim easily easier to understand and more accessible, and did not have it bound by an IP. I've heard that as well. Uh, I've not played it though. Yeah, the FG has bloat now, but the core system is gorgeous. Skirmish gaming, yeah. So skirmish gaming is when we talk about like tabletop wargaming, where we have like one side versus the other, or both sides against one thing. That would be the overall arcing of moving little soldiers around and like doing battles or doing stuff. That would be miniature wargaming. That itself has many trees, which my favorite is skirmish gaming. Which skirmish gaming is what 40k, like Rogue Trader originally was very much along those lines of not a vast army, but like a war band or a small group where there was much more role-playing elements. But skirmish gaming essentially is wargaming on a smaller scale, where instead of having a army like with a commander, multiple units, all these things that move as one piece, you have individuals who move as themselves. The most well-known are probably like Necromunda, Mordheim, of course, but like Trench Crusade is another one. 1490 Doom is one. Anything that has a low model count and is more focused on not just killing each other, but there's typically also a campaign kind of related, where in between games, your models, your characters, they level, they gain skills, they get better over time, but also they can die. And that's something that I really love. And not all skirmish games use that mechanic, and that's also just if you're playing a campaign where you're wanting that. But skirmish would just be small scale, uh, not. I mean, I don't know where I would cut the limit at. Trench Crusade, I think they say like the biggest is like 20 models, like at the end of a campaign, but you're never going to have them all on the board at the same time. It's more of X amount from the group would go and be in the scenario. Um, but yeah, I would say anything less than 20 models like per side, I would include skirmish. But I don't even know. That sounds big. That sounds too big because there's like maybe 30 in my Zone Mortalis, like Emperor's Children, and that is not skirmish gaming. It's like a blend because it's Zone Mortalis, so there's not tanks and stuff like that. But I am going to pause real quick because I've got to pee, and then I'll be right back. But no, thank you for asking, because that definitely is key information for anybody who does not know. I'm sorry I haven't covered that yet. But yeah, no, I really want them to be used for anything, a grimdark setting, feudal world setting. I'm really trying to start making all of my terrain that I have, because I just have limited space to some extent. I have a lot of it, but it is limited. I need to make sure that the things that I make can be used and look okay for multiple games. Um, so yeah, but I will be right back. Be right back. And we're back. Alrighty, back to painting. Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you for asking that. And I do believe it mainly comes down to, um, whereas I think when people think of like tabletop, like wargaming, they think of big battles and stuff, because that is absolutely where the market is kind of trying to be shown because of the biggest players. Whereas a skirmish, I think, it's just a reference to that. Like instead of a battle, it's a skirmish. So smaller unit numbers, smaller people involved. Um, now this one's going to be tricky because I need to make sure I don't touch the paint that I'm putting down, which is not so much that it's like, oh yeah, you got to watch out. It's just watch where my hands go. I got to do that. Much like sculpting. And using a soldering iron. That's another thing. The same rules go for that in the event that you find yourself using a soldering iron. It's got the same rules as sculpting. Number 1, watch your hands. And number 2, watch your hands. Because unlike sculpting, instead of ruining your work, you'll just get burnt really bad. And having messed a lot with wiring and stuff, especially building guitars and things like that, that is where I learned that lesson. But then I get to take those skills that I learned in there and apply them elsewhere. So, like putting lights and little models and stuff, which absolutely is on the board. Aha! I did it. Come on, hands. Yeah, after I get off here today, I've got to go to the post office and mail something to my friend Nick. That old wily Canadian. He mailed me a bunch of color shapers, like sculpting tools, when we were planning on doing the Ratatouille thing at Adepticon, which for those of you who don't know, Nick broke his foot last year and was really trying to figure out a way to get to Adepticon to do his sculpting class. And I pitched the idea as a joke, but also not as a joke. I was like, what if I go and you Ratatouille me? Because initially I asked him, hey, I want to start doing sculpting classes and I want to start showing people how to do stuff. Would you mind if I set in, because I've not ever done any teaching? Which it turns out, if you love what you're trying to teach, it just kind of happens. And then if you truly love what you're doing, people will stay engaged and they will ask questions. So it turns out that I kind of did know how to teach, but which is ironic from so many standpoints, because as a parent or as a child of a single parent household that was a teacher, my distaste of the teaching, is very strong. Teachers are not anywhere near as appreciated as they should be. So when I'm like, oh yeah, I want to teach people things, it's just like, damn it, that's the opposite of what I always said I would want to do. But I love showing people how to do stuff, as long as they are actually interested. And if I just start doing the stuff that I love to do, I feel like people find that interesting, because I think people like to learn. I know I do. Anywho, not everybody, but a lot of people do. So we were going to do a Ratatouille thing where I pretty much had Nick telling me what to do with my hands while I led his class, and I love that. So it'd be like a RedWetSkeleton, RedWetSynthesis. I don't know how to make both of our names work, but RedWetSkeleton works. In this situation, though, I would not. He would be Ratatouille. I would be the guy working in the kitchen. Now, I do like that. I like an idea of the opposite, where it's just me teaching someone that does not know what they're doing at all, and I'm just in their head telling them what to do with their hands. That sounds hilarious and fun, but also just like I feel like few people would be like, I will be your hands. I don't know. But yeah, I'm down to beat the hands. Yeah, needless to say, linguini. Linguini, thank you, Mowgli. Needless to say, Adepticon did not go for the idea. I don't even know if Nick got to the point that he was able to like explain the idea, but they pretty much, and I'm not, this is not a dig at Adepticon. They have, it is such a big thing and it's constantly growing. Our community is constantly getting bigger. So more and more people are getting involved, more and more events are being planned, more and more things are going on. Um, it is a lot to keep track of. So essentially, the moment that they found out that he could not, they started to try and find someone that could teach his class instead. And they needed to have someone that they knew that they could rely on. So they just started looking at different people to try and make sure that everybody got, their money's worth or whatnot, and didn't have to cancel it. Man, I just keep touching that, huh? Luckily, the paint's almost kind of dry, so it's not. I'm not messing up too much. But oh boy, it is hard to remember to keep my hands there. Um, but yeah, so we ended up not being able to do that, which I can't stress enough. There's always next year, and it won't be a surprise. It'll just be a. That's the plan. The plan is a Ratatouille situation. Be the change you want to see in the world, I always say. And now I don't say it like spitefully. At one point in time, I used that phrase often in a very nihilistic way, um, which is not good. But it's just from a matter of, for a very long time, I was very spiteful and very bitter about a lot of things, and this was my entire like outlet because I did not feel like I could change anything. Um, and that's why I'm so passionate about it. It was my, and they go into that in the Grim of the Dark documentary, which I did not fully talk about that, but the concept of escapism in our hobby is very different than I think a lot of people think about as escapism, because it's, at least in the 28 community, escapism into this is a form, an outlet, a form of coping, trying to be okay, and by going into a world that you have control over, it makes you feel safe, and that is something that like I've always struggled with because one, I have way too active an imagination, so it's very easy to see that you cannot make an impact in the world when you don't even really want to stay in the world, like mentally, like you struggle to stay here because it's just not like what it could be. However, the more I really pondered on that and I thought about, I mean, actually, it's just a lot. It's a long conversation, but the community as a whole was able to, I think, give me the support that I needed to grow as a person. And I realized that if I just do what I love, there's so many people now that just want to understand how to do these things. And they need somebody who cares about them, not about their money or their wallets. And I can do that. After seeing the nature of the beast for myself and leaving on my terms, I started working on. And it's taken time, but again, it's just me. But I started trying to put together the Grimdark Distillery, which is my overall name for the project, of trying to make my firm belief that tabletop gaming is for everybody. Everybody should feel welcome at the gaming table, no matter if you're playing a role-playing game, if you're playing a tabletop like skirmish game, Warhammer. Like it is the closest thing to a church that I have, and I want to make sure that people feel like they are welcome, as long as they are good people. And by that I mean not doing hate speech kind of shit. So yeah, that's my whole goal. My whole goal is to try and legitimately now be the change that I want to see in the world. And I think the only way to do that is by doing the thing. Uh, and the rest just kind of comes with that. I think people need to know that they have someone that cares about them and their time and their money and appreciates it for what it is, and will not lie to them. That's the biggest thing. I really I cannot abide by is the spreading of false information is just one of the most offensive things to me. Um, and when I see someone say, "Oh yeah, I'll show you how to do this thing, and you'll be able to do blank," and it's just like that's trying to summarize a craft that takes many, many, many years to become a master of into a technique that you picked up online. That's not learning. That's imitation or it's application. But to fully understand, like, oh, hey, how do you think of these things? Wow, look at this sap. I'm sorry. I don't mean to just rant and rant and rant. I'm just speaking my truth. That's it. I'm just speaking my truth. Uh, but that's it. And I'll touch on that because I had a conversation with the Wires yesterday about the documentary and about a moment that I had that I did not fully appreciate. Um, when we were at the Visterian event, after, I guess, after everything, Isaac came back and he was like, "Yeah, I really wanted to show my wife the models, your demons that you made." And I had a wonderful, wonderful conversation with them, the two of them, about where they came from, about all the reasons I made them, why they look like they do, and how I use them to deal with a lot of my shit, um, and how I finally hit the point that I was just like, you know what, I don't need to keep this stuff locked in my head, because there's other people in this community that I love and I care about that would benefit from me talking about stuff that other people don't want to talk about. That has helped me. Talking about it helps. So, but yeah, I had a conversation. It was very, 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 very heavy conversation with them, and Cody was in the room as well, and his mouth was pretty much just dropped, and I did not fully understand that the meaning of oh, it was jaw dropping, but it's just now I do. I've seen someone have a response that it was so unbelievable that their jaw dropped, and it was very silly. But now, having watched the documentary, having listened to what I know Cody said prior to the event, there is a spot in the documentary where he pretty much afterwards he was like, "You really just kind of said everything that I said in an interview that we did the other day. That it's just you finally find a community that cares enough about you as a person, and welcomes you, because that's it, really. There's nothing more personal, I don't think, than feeling safe enough to play pretend as an adult. Like, essentially, that is one of the deepest vulnerability that you can show, is trying to open up and have fun and use your imagination with someone else, because it's so prone to being turned against you, especially these days. People can be very cruel. So I think being there for people and showing them, hey, how do you show what I do and what I've gotten out of it? And it's just it's a long thing. It takes a long time. I've been doing this most of my life, but it is cathartic. It is how I carved the Buddha. And I really think that since I have become happier with myself, I've become a lot happier with my art, and I don't second guess myself enough, and I know my worth. And I want to find that. I want to help other people find that. I want to be someone who cares about them and not their money. Yeah, if you want to support me, there's a link, but at the same time, it's I don't have a bunch of stretch goals. I don't have anything. It's just yeah, if you want to support me, you can do that. but the morning hobby hang will be free as long as I have the time to do it. Like, if I can do it, I'm going to do it, because I think it's important for people to know that there is someone out there that, yeah, if I want to learn how to do that thing, I can pop in, I can ask questions, um, and I'm not going to try to sell you something. Like, I'll tell you what you need, what I use, things that I've used that don't work, because I've done this for so long. Um, and that's it. Like, it's hard to sit down and be like, I need to make a video about blank, because that's just not how my brain works. Um, I don't, again, when you do something for so long, you forget that other people don't understand like the steps that you just like. I almost caught that with my foot. You forget the people don't fully understand like all the steps of it. So again, like the skirmish gaming, we've Mowgli has been in here for a hot minute now, and I feel like I've used that term, but it's just like if you don't feel comfortable to ask questions, that's bad teaching. Like, and I firmly believe that. There's one of the most offensive things that I've ever seen, and I still they have earned my loathing until the day I die because of how much it offended me. But I went to Woodford Reserve. I'm big, I don't. I like bourbon, but it's more of a heritage thing for me. Don't forget to use code RedWetSkeleton10 for 10% off a turbo quarter. I don't have anything set up with them, but I definitely need to reach out to Greg and see about that, because I love their paints. I love their paints, and if I can make it to where you guys can get paint that I love for what it is, and it is not. It takes a little bit to figure it out, but there's just no other paint that does what they do. And knowing that it's a 3-person shop, it's someone who loves paint. And the whole conversation that we had started with, like your second week. So that's great. Like it's just, I want people to feel comfortable to ask questions. Like, as long as they're being respectful to everybody. Like, I think that is the most important thing, is feeling like you can ask the person that is supposed to be showing you something and teaching, and them not like, pick on you, or like it's just crazy. It's just crazy. Like someone asks a question because they're curious and they're interested. But I went on this tour, and a key thing to know is, so I live in Kentucky. Bourbon is a very big part of our heritage, and Woodford is one of the youngest distilleries. Like, they are the new kid on the block. They've been around for a while, but they are still very, very, very young. And after going to many other distilleries, I asked our tour guide, I was like, how often do you rotate the barrels? To which he said, son, those barrels weigh something, something, something pounds. He was like, there is no way that anybody could get up there and rotate those barrels, blah, 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 blah. And I was just like, I was dumbfounded by like how bad of a response that was. And it's just like, man, if I didn't know more than you clearly do, I would be a lot more like put down. But now I'm just like, okay, fuck this guy. But it didn't really turn into a like, oh, a blood feud until someone, wow, thanks, asshole. Yeah, exactly. It's just like, wow. Well, first, false. I don't know if you've ever heard of a little like, distillery called Jim Beam, but they have 10 to 15 times the amount of your shit, and they rotate the barrels. So does Maker's Mark, which does what Woodford pretends to do, but on an actual, like, we give a shit note, not just a money thing. But the thing that really upset me was there was someone from another state that was there, and they asked a question, and they pretty much were asking what's the difference between, Jack Daniels and, bourbon. And his response was so shitty that I'll never pay another dime for anything. I'll drink it if it's free. Like, I'm not going to pass up a drink that someone, presents me like, oh, hey, would you like a drink? I made it for you. Like, sure, I'm not going to be rude, but I'm not giving them any more money. Like, they made someone that took the time out of their life. They took the time out of their life to come and see a little bit about the place that they were visiting. And that guy made them feel dumb. He put them down for asking a legitimate question. There was no spite behind the question. It was just general curiosity. And putting down someone for wanting to learn is just one of the most offensive things to me. Uh, and yeah, that earned my spite for a lifetime. So I don't know. And seeing that now in starting to come up in my community with painting, the thing that like finally made me feel okay about who I am. Belittling, man, my teachers would do that shit. That's the thing. Like, it's just nuts how so many people think that that's acceptable. So, like, it doesn't prove your point. It's the opposite of proving your point. If anything, it makes it look like you don't know the answers. But yeah, belittling is just very offensive to me, especially if someone legitimately wants to know and is asked in a very respectful way. And, you know, after working in corporate America and just seeing the job that I worked really hard to get to, slowly stopped being about what I loved, which was very complex problem solving with real world solutions, turn into we just need a living body to, you know, click buttons, that kind of stuff. Don't give a shit about the quality of your work. It's just push, just meat grinder. Watching that definitely made me realize, man, I think that the people that told me what I need to do in life and the steps that I needed to take to get to be happy, I don't think they knew what they're talking about. And I am happy now, and I do what I love every day, and I would like to keep doing that because I know that there are so many people that also are interested, and I can't stand that there are people out there trying to take advantage of people wanting to learn or wanting to be involved in a community that has given me so much. So yeah, I am trying to be the change I want to see in the world. That's not a sales pitch. That's just, I don't even know how I got on this subject, but Cody essentially was relating to that conversation. And I don't think I understood what a producer was. But when I talked to Cody at Adepticon, he was like, yeah, I've been producing things my entire life. And I realize now that when I think of a producer, I think of like a list of people that I'm like, man, if I ever found out it was that guy, it'd be hard not to stab them. Solely from things like the prequel to Alien. Or not Alien, sorry, The Thing. The Thing prequel. The amount of absolutely stunning practical effects that they made that film with, and then somebody from corporate came in and said, yeah, cover that in CGI. And it is, I mean, that is one of the most offensive things I have ever encountered. It's just like, God, that's what producers do? They decide how the money's spent? No, I think a producer is supposed to see the whole picture and understand how to select the parts and how to present it in a way to fully explain what it's supposed to be. And that is really what I got out of the 1490, or not 1490, but the Grim in the Dark, is it covered a lot of stuff that I wouldn't have even thought to. And that's because I'm too deep into it. But the guys that pretty much, you know, worked on making that, they are able to see all of us and know how to put the pieces together to where people can, you know, truly, I think, benefit from that. And I love that. That makes me really, really proud to be like, yeah, those are my friends. And then after, yeah, just having a one-on-one conversation with somebody and telling them, this is what I love, or, you know, and then pretty much saying the same thing. It's like, this is what I love. This is all I want to do. I just want to do what I love. And if I can turn a camera on and people can gain something from watching me do it, it seems messed up to not do that, because a lot of people need somebody that gives a shit, like, just in general. Like, we just don't have many people that give a shit. And I can't change, you know, certain things, but I could try to make things better for anyone that wants to learn about what I'm doing, or just need someone to talk to, as long as they're being respectful and, you know, playing by the rules of the house. I want them to feel welcome no matter what. So, oh boy. Yap, 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 yap. I'm just so talkative. I got the gift of gab. Man, I'm excited that these are getting done. I can actually see progress, and that is on The Exorcist. They had to make a 3D model of the house and pull it in on itself, and they only had one take. That's so rad. So, oh man, I'm trying to think of when in the movie that would be. I've not watched The Exorcist many times. I will say, it's like the list of like horror movies that like I don't love, but I respect them entirely. The Exorcist is on that list. Like, we would not have horror today without The Exorcist. I think there's better horror movies, obviously, and by better I mean like they deal more in horror, but that movie absolutely is a pivotal moment in horror history. And on that note, I also will say that there is a series. I won't say it's a series, but Eli Roth. I did not care for Eli Roth for a very, very, very long time because I did what so many people do to art. And I think they take it on the nose and they don't try to understand what the thing that's being conveyed is. But pretty much the whole invention of Gorno as a genre. I don't like Gorno. It's not my thing, but I can appreciate the intent of distilling something down so much that even people that are like, oh yeah, I love that, all the gore and stuff in slasher movies. It's just like, what if it was all way worse? And just kind of showing the monstrosity in the world. And I did not realize that at the time. It very much is time. A lot of it has to do with showing torture that is still used, like, in the world as a tool that we condone, depending on what the goal is. But if you put it in front of people on a screen, it's just like, oh my God, that's monstrous. And it's like, yeah, you only supported it because you didn't see it. And I appreciated that discussion, but it's in Masters of Horror, I think is what it is. And the whole reason that I even started to like, hey, I should look into what Eli Roth thinks about stuff is I have a art book, the Thing art book. I want to say it's the 40th anniversary. It's gorgeous, but it's a big collection of just different artwork, all done inspired by The Thing, which is my favorite movie. And the foreword in the beginning is from Eli Roth. And I thought, man, okay, everything he wrote about this, which is my favorite movie, it is a work of art. I love it on so many levels. Everything he wrote touched me to where I was just like, I should give a shit what this person thinks about something, because clearly they really care about this even as much as I do. So, and that's just, being open-minded. I am trying to be more. It's hard though. It's hard to unlearn things. So. It's a big, big world. Lots of different opinions. When the house imploded on itself. Man, I don't remember that. I see, that's the thing. I need to watch that movie again, clearly. I'm not trying to be preachy or anything. I'm just trying to, again, speak my truths, speak my thoughts on things. I strive to just try to do that on here and make sure that I don't say anything to offend anybody, because there's no intention of that ever. And if I say anything that is offensive, I did not mean it that way. Let me rephrase that. I don't often have the best way to describe what I'm thinking in my head, and sometimes it comes off a jumbled mess, because it's very jumbled in there, I promise you. But yeah, the house imploded in on itself. I'm gonna have to watch that movie again. It is a great movie. really, really, really changed a lot of stuff in horror. Um, and it's very high on that list. Where pretty much there's another. I don't think it's the same thing. Actually, it might be. It might be the same thing. It might be the top 100 horror things presented by Eli Roth. That might be it. Okay. For a minute there, I thought that might be still oily. It might still be. We'll see. Sounded like somebody just hopped on the spray booth. Jumbo! Or it's just like, shh, I'm not here. Yeah, that's wood. And then that is going to be stone in between there, plaster, that kind of a thing. Yeah, eventually the goal is if I can get enough done and I have the time and whatnot, I would love to be able to go back, edit these morning hobby hangs for any kind of content that would be useful for people, and to be able to actually pull that out, organize it to where it's easier to access. That is a big time, big time investment. And I just have so much stuff that I want to work on. Because there's just so much to show. There's also so much to show in this grim darkness. Yeah. Margot. I don't see her. I don't see her. But who's to say? Perhaps she was up there and I just heard her get up and leave. She was like, I'm leaving. You're not talking about me? Psh. Not talking about me on my stream? This is Margot's stream. I just hosted. Togram. Yes. She is Margot, called Jumbo, called Mumbo, called Grumbo, called Togram. So here's a fun thing we watched last night. Is that wood? I think that's wood. That's probably wood, right? Yeah, that's gonna be wood. We watched Predator Killer of Killers, which is on Hulu. It's a animated short film. And it got really good reviews. I enjoyed it. It is good. I don't think I would say it's like, oh, it's not the best Predator thing I've ever seen. But if you like Predator, it's worth your time if you like animated film. The animation's not the best, but the story is fun. It's no Predator 2, which I can't stress enough. I love Predator 2, and I always say that it is a great movie. It's not a good movie. I can't stress that enough. I love it, but it's because I think it hits that point where it's just like, okay, I like what this is about, but also it's got a lot of just ridiculousness in it that I'm like, okay, this is just crazy. But I don't get it somehow is able to ride that line where I'm like, this isn't for me, and I'm like, okay, no, this is great. Now Predator is a good movie, like the first one. Oh boy, that movie is intense. Not as good as Alien, but I mean, very few things are. If you ever are like, man, I don't think that practical effects are as good as CGI. If you're ever just thinking about that for a second, please take the time and just go look up any of the practical effects from Alien and understand that they made them in 1979. It is masterful work. Mother was a room with a bunch of drink carriers with Christmas lights pushed into the back. The amount of like really clever like artistry that just pours from that film is so high. As far as the set and all the design, the face huggers, like the face hugger that they made is absolutely astonishing. It looks to me like something that they pulled up out of the ocean. It looks alive. It looks like a real living thing. And that absolutely had a lot of impact on my work and wanting to make real looking monsters. Very other, but naturally correct, if that makes sense. Yeah, I love Alien and The Thing. And The Thing I love for all the reasons, but I think horror is the number one, like just pure horror. That movie really handles dread in like a true sense so well by having such a small cast all trapped, and you can't trust like the parts of the movie where you're supposed to even question McCready. It's just great. I absolutely love that movie. And then it just also happens to have some of the most insane body horror practical effects ever made. It's just, yeah, if you've not ever seen The Thing, it's a scary movie, but oh boy, it's my favorite. It is my favorite film. It definitely changed film and had so many impacts on other genres of art. Yeah, and that is my rant about The Thing. Oh boy, it is 10:01. I have to pee again. And also, I gotta put some stuff in a bag and mail it to Canada, as they say. So I'm gonna stop painting any second now. Okay, yeah, I gotta stop. Otherwise, I'm just gonna, what? There's a dead fly on there. Saving that for later. All jokes aside, like yeah, I am. I brought it over here probably when I was working on some Trench Crusade stuff, and I forgot to bring it back over, put it with the dead stuff. But with that said, I think I'm going to stop here, just because I do got to go run to the post office, and I want to get that done before it gets too late, and I just lose time. Also, I really got to pee again. So I think we will end it here. But thank you guys for hanging out and listening. Again, hopefully that wasn't too much of a sales pitch. It's just more of just explaining who I am, what I want to do, and the things that I think are important, and why I want to do them. So it just kind of naturally happened. Yeah, thank you guys so much. See you tomorrow. Thank you for the stream. Thank you guys again. Your time is the most valuable resource you have. In fact, it's like you spend it with me. It means the world to me. So thank you. Thank you so much. Be good to yourselves and to each other. Take care. Sit pretty. I will see you guys later. Y'all have a good one. See you tomorrow. Bye, friends. Oh, shit. I forgot. Hey, before I do that, thank you, Mowgli. Thank you, Possum. I forgot to say thank you to everybody individually. Thank you, Mowgli. Thank you, Possum. Thank you, Basic Brush. Thank you, Kyle. I think, is that the Storm Rooster. Thank you. Shankly. Adam. Man, a whole bunch of people in today. Yeah, no, awesome. Thank you guys so much. All right, you all have a good one. Bye, friends.